want to grow as a grower? Are you tired of being put to sleep by your educational growcasts? Are you tired of hearing about products you don't fucking want and can't afford? Are you tired of being told how you should grow? Hi, I'm Johnny Apple, and joining me is everyone's favorite amphibian, the Reverend Pirate Frog. Join us as we sift through the bullshit on the internet and try to get better as growers. This is Your Average Grow.
Alrighty, all my friends, welcome to another episode of The Circle. I'm going to start right into introducing everybody, but I'll start with Howling this week. Howling, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Glad to be here.
You look wonderful as always.
I try.
My heterosexual life partner, Johnny, how you doing?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
Oh, I'm wonderful. And
what's up, everybody else?
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And welcome, Stoney, who I've given the job of hosting yet again to, because I'm terrible as a boss.
It was really swift. It was like a real quick offer and a real swift, like, yeah, sure, take it. Absolutely. All yours. Yeah.
I would prefer if you did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It was summarily just handed over directly over to me. So yeah. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks for.
I will say though, bravo for at least accepting the responsibility. Like, oh fuck, I'll take it.
Well,
he did do at least that, and nobody. And when you came to the rescue, he was like, all right, well then, fuck yeah, okay.
Hey, I want everyone to have
an opportunity. Back here like, nah, dude, I don't want fucking none of it because I am not prepared.
It is what I will say. It wasn't noble because I had wholeheartedly hoped that someone would take it from me immediately. So I was just like, yeah, I'll do it, staring into your souls, like, if you fuckers don't take this goddamn thing from me. But
well, it'll only at least be this one, maybe the next one before Howling. We're just gonna throw it directly on you and see.
You don't want that. I think you're doing a great job here.
Yeah, he's gonna kill you with kindness. So you're like, man, I've been hosting every time for like 7 years.
I just want to make sure everyone's got the opportunity, and if it's not there, then I will make sure that everyone gets to the spot that they need.
Perfect.
So, awesome, dude.
Perfect.
Yeah, let's dig in because I think we've got some really cool, fun things to talk about.
Yeah, let's before we get started, I want to say welcome to the holy month of May. This whole month is, of course, a very holy time in the Lord Frog's calendar. So, just welcome to the celebration, guys.
Man really loves his mother, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's the only reason. That's Mother's Day. Really on board with that one. Speaking of which, yeah. But yeah, Stoney, let's get into the holy month of May.
Yeah, I mean, it is full on spring. Today was our real first day of summertime.
Amazing.
And, here in the Midwest, we get this like switch that flips, right? So we had this little teaser of it yesterday. We got 2 or 3 hours of it. Today you wake up and it was like 80 degrees. The sun was shining. It's hot. The humidity, of course, I think went through the skyrocket and through everyone's dry tents and just to disaster around here in the Midwest. I know Howling and I we're talking about it, and I think we'll probably circle back to it once we get a little bit down the road with this one. But it's just been this month is so amazing of a transition going into the summertime. I think when I look at my calendar indoor versus what's going on outdoors, so much exciting stuff. I was out there watering dirt. I think my neighbors still think I'm crazy for starting to bring my soil back to life, right? Because they're out there like, what do you got going there? No, nothing. But I was out there with like 20 cups the other day, just loading them up. So I've got a 10 full of those. So much exciting stuff going on.
That's awesome.
And maybe that's just a great place for us to start. Like, it's summertime and it's a great time to get new exciting things. I know we've all got stuff that we're hanging in tents drying. Everyone's got stuff popping up in ceilings. So let's start there. So I'm going to put you guys on the spot. And Howling, since we were going to get you next in line for it. So tell me the most exciting thing that's going on in the tent this week. What do you got going on in your grow? What are you most excited about?
Well, I think I'll be most excited about if I find out what I impulse bought today was not a scam. There was a
do tell, my friend. Do tell.
There was a Facebook ad for these raised
scam
2x8 beds with a trellis that were super low, and it was like I fell for every little way they tried to make themselves look different.
Bro,
And
they're 2 inches by 8 inches. Don't you know?
well, I didn't even think anything of it until I made the purchase, and then I got the message that there was like a coin share thing on my credit card. I'm like, coin share, really? I'm like, so this is international, and yeah, I have no idea. So I might be out $55. We'll see. So that was exciting, but other than that, I flipped on 2 of my autopots for the first time.
How thrilling!
And
How was
flood
it?
the bay.
Were you nervous?
Little anticlimactic. Like I was thinking once I turned this on,
There was no fucking fireworks.
I mean, I'm looking.
It's just a slow little dribble. It's not a just like flush, unleash the waters.
It's just like there's things going through grommets and not like seated with O-rings real tight and everything. It's just a grommet, and I'm like, something around here is gonna leak. Nothing did. And then it was just like slowly watch the tray fill up, and it's like, that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
My problem now is like I'm trying to calibrate my expectations with that a little bit because I have moisture meters in all of mine, and I know that like when Jeremy from Build the Soil ran it, he was seeing like I think 42% consistently with them, and I know with like my earth boxes, I always saw a consistent percentage of moisture, and I was thinking the same thing with the autopots, but all I watched is the normal pattern of it drying up after I turned the autopots on, and I was really confused. So I'm trying to figure that all out. I mean, I know it's the 13-gallon pot. It's super, super tall and it's sucking up from the bottom, and who knows, maybe there's some hydrophobic pockets or something, but it seems like it's only the bottom couple inches of the pot that's getting wet. And so I gave it a top water today. I'm hoping that kind of the moisture meets in the middle and just balances out. Maybe I know they recommend watering heavily the pot before turning the autopots on, and maybe that's why. Maybe it just can't catch up to a drought too quickly.
It's like a wick,
yeah,
right? It's a wick. So once you kind of have, like, think of a paper towel, right? Setting a paper towel into water, it'll start to climb back up. And I've been doing now I'll do a one full water at like 10-15% of the pot, right? And I'll pour that directly over and leave that for the full night, and then come in the next morning and then flood the bays. And then this round, I think we were talking a little bit about it last time when I was pulling up the roots and looking around at them and seeing how shallow they stay with those feeder roots. It really got me thinking kind of the same thing. Like, how do I get them to meet in the middle?
Yeah.
Right. How do I get that? So I'm actually going to start just keeping a sprayer, right? I've got a little cheap and small plastic sprayer, and every day I'm just going to make sure that I keep the top of that nice and moist, so that it does meet in the middle, because I think that if you don't get it in those first 24, 48 hours, you're right. I think you might get some pockets.
Yeah. So that's how I'm just going to keep an eye on it. If I notice, I won't let it dry back as much as I did this time. If I know it's starting to slip a few points, I'll just go and toss a cord on top and see, just keep it moist and just try to let the bottom catch up. Yeah. Maybe that's all it needs. I don't know.
But that's exciting, man. I mean, you're flooding the base, right? You got water going in there. You can finally step back on this one, like even more so than the earth box. Like, that's exciting, man.
I'll tell you though, I wasn't ready. Even though like the smell of the things going into the res, I'm not used to having a res that I can smell. Like the earth box, you're not smelling down in there. It goes down the tube.
You're not close enough.
But you take the top off this res because I periodically want to make sure the pumps work in. Everything looks okay, and you pull the top off, and it's just photoclust just fermenting inside that thing.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't prepared for that one.
Just wait till you start doing some of Stoney's little teas that he's developed for his autopots. Dude's got I'm surprised he doesn't sell it in sludge form yet. That's in the future, but it is. Granted, it's a system I'd want to do if I did autopots too. But I'm really excited to watch you do your first one and see what you develop, man. It's one of the cool things about these SIP containers is watching everyone develop their own system. It's really fun.
I have to learn. I have to basically become comfortable with forgetting everything I just learned.
Yeah.
And start again.
Yeah.
It's the glory.
One of the things I do to keep the funk down, because I do put fermented plant extracts in there too with the photosynthesis plus. So it does get kind of nasty in there, and the SLF 100 also goes in there. So it does have a little bit of a nice aroma to it. But I do take a paper towel and I kind of stuff that hole full. So, right, I don't get any sort of air gas off from it, right? And I keep it dry. It's not, The first few times I put like a little bit of like lemon oil onto it. I just took a lemon or a lime and just kind of roughed the surface up of it and rubbed the paper towel with it and just tucked it onto the top of it. And it does make like a little bit of an air freshener, and it's safe. It's just the oils or whatever. And then the other thing is I get some condensation because of that. So when I take the lid off, I just kind of turn it a little bit and set it down so that the corner drops down into the thing, so it all kind of drains in, so you don't get that funky, nasty water. Because PSA, wash your hands afterwards. Remember how much bacteria you are dunking and getting onto your hands, a bacteria solution. So I'm not a total clean freak, but even still, like when I'm done with the gardening, you go up there and just give your hands a wash.
I think you gave the most chefy solution to fixing it. Oh, we're just going to take some of the essential oils from the lemon and rough it up onto a paper towel. Like,
well, it seems simple, right? Like first thing I was doing was looking at it like, oh, I could just put some air freshener on there, because I keep different air fresheners around the room and some that are blowing and whatever. I'm like, this one is a little too close to the Photo Plus, and I just didn't want to get the funk in there. So it works.
That wasn't an air freshener. That was a 5-star air freshener. Like the rest of us got a fucking can of Febreze, dude. Like that's it. That's
what
it.
He doesn't tell you is that lemon and lime were grown in a commune that only the brightest of the brightest are invited to, and they don't use anything but spray. They use eye drops to deliver all of the water and everything. It's like $7,000 lime. But yeah,
or it was my leftover taco limes. No lie on that one.
grown with organic soil that was only watered with glacier water.
Yeah,
that was bathed in by the prettiest of people. Yeah, but that's a fabulous idea, and better than what my first one would be. Is, hey, go to the gas station and get a shit ton of those like trees.
All I got is the
just
image
have them hanging in throughout the room like Seven.
No, that's the image from the movie Seven.
Yeah,
there we go. Pine trees hanging from the ceiling.
You owe me a Coke, my friend.
Oh no.
On to exciting things, right? We'll stay on.
I went to Tommy Boy.
I know. I was thinking Tommy Boy.
Okay. All right, I'll go there.
You guys are sick motherfuckers.
Taxi cab air freshener.
Yeah.
Well, then we'll stay with the sunshine. Then Johnny, keep going as you're rubbing yourself with the pine cone air fresheners.
Yeah, what's exciting in your?
I mean, it is pining, right? I mean,
there you go.
The terpenes. But tell me the most exciting thing going on in your garden this week, brother.
The most exciting thing going on would have to be that my outdoor stuff is starting to take off. Starting to look really good. I did up pot. I think half of them got up potted. No, I didn't up pot yet. I put half of them into my prop tent. So I had to experiment with the ones in the peat and the ones in the soil. I cut back all the ones in soil because I had planted so many in each pod like I normally do. You plant 3 or 4 in each pod and then you trim them back. So those are all trimmed back now. And then I put that whole dome inside my prop tent because it's got more light. So that's kind of the most exciting thing I got, is getting ready to get this outdoor garden outdoors. I'd say the least exciting thing is that my double smile seems to be triggering into flower, and it's little. It's a small one again. So
it's petite.
Yep. I think it's going to be, I'm hoping it gets some more vertical growth, because it's not what you would think for a 21-day plant. Happen.
No, mine are the same way. They're 20 or not 21 days, but they're not too far off, but they're really short. I mean, beautiful, like big leaves on them, but just super short.
Where are these pictures?
I didn't even have that.
Where are these pictures, you motherfuckers?
I
haven't had a chance to I was out of town. Haven't had a chance to get some pictures taken, but I'll get them because I just happened to peek in there. I was like, damn it, man. And it's still like really small for what you would think at 21.
I'll have to see. But it's on the smaller, or no, you guys have double smile. So I don't know, man.
Everyone's running into some weird things with anything crossed with the double grape. It's actually kind of interesting to see so many different growers and just running into self-topping and helmet heads and things that are not sprouting and short plants. And like, it's a funky one to grow.
Yeah.
Double grape was one of my very first ones to grow, and it was also my very first lesson on nitrogen toxicity too, because I really gave it too much off the. I mean, I probably gave a plant that could take or need a lot of nitrogen. I probably gave it too much in cycle. And of course, the double grape just went inky green, and it took some tricks and lots of research to get to a spot where I finally got it into control, and it stayed short and bushy. And then it did kind of spring up there, man. It give it a little bit of time. Give it a little bit of time. There might be something there.
Well, even mangoes.
It's just weird because it was growing. It's been growing healthy the entire time. Like it's been doing really well with environment. I didn't feel like I messed anything up. It just kind of matching what I would expect a plant to normally act. It's just on the smaller side, and it's triggering.
Well,
It's like, what the did I do this time?
You didn't do
I don't
anything.
know.
Drop that bullshit logic, dude. First of all, it's just a plant. But no, I mean, even the mango smile part of it, like my mango smile is a wild thing, but the soil, even Build a Soil Light, was too hot for the mango smile. So
Yeah. It could be that, because now that I'm seeing it like with the triggering, I'm starting to see the leaves like some gnarly curling maybe a little bit. It's like, what, man? What is it you don't like?
yeah.
You're not happy.
And if it's a problem on both parents' lineage, then you're only creating a disaster of a kid.
Yeah. Cool. Maybe it's got some disastrous terps and it'll be delicious.
Hell yeah. You'll get there. I'm excited.
So,
I'm excited for both of yours.
Johnny, you mentioned up potting, and that's something that I hear several different methods and techniques up potting, from solos to gallons to 3 gallons to 5 gallons. I know even I think Daz mentions he goes from 1 gallons into 3s and then to 5s and up pots. Tell me more about your up potting. What's your method and technique?
So I go from solo cup right to my big beds now.
Okay.
So once I see they're big enough in those solo cups that they're going to take it, usually around 2 or 3 weeks is about when I go right from the solo cup and I transplant right into my big beds. That's what I did this last time with the Hella Jellies. It's what I did with the banana milks before that. And they just take so well. I don't that prop tent, because the temperatures and like 75-ish and the humidity hovers in the 40, 45-ish to 50s. So it's not like pushing anything. It's got a seedling laying on it, and they like it in there until they're too big for the solo cups anymore, and I take them in. That's the easiest thing. But my outdoor garden's a little bit different. I'm going to go right from the 72 pods into the outdoor garden. I would have liked to have had more time to up pot them, but there's just so much of them going on. So I'm just going to go right from the 72 cell right out to the outdoors. But other than that, man, I just not much up potting. I used to go like the steady progression into the bit, but you end up with such a fucking 5 gallon to a 10 gallon. You're like trying to wedge soil down in and around. It's a lot.
Yeah, I'm playing around with a couple different sizes right now in my grow. I've got quartz. I think I've felt the most successful with. And my theory is around solo cups, especially with these autoflowers. If they even hit the bottom of that cup, if they hit something firm down there, then I think that it starts to trigger them on the early side. So the most success I've seen, the ones that have gotten the tallest, the ones that have really filled out the most, were ones that I started in quart containers, right? Just like the deli quarts you get it. I use them in kitchens for decades, right? So then I've got some testers going for a big green guy, and I've got 5 of those going right now, and they're 1 gallons, right? And they're in squares, so I'm trying those out. And then I just picked up some more quartz to start in, and then I've got a bunch of solos going on. So I'm starting to just play around with that sort of up potting as well, and seeing what maybe some steps would do, especially with autos. But it's also partially around starting to wrap my head around photos, which is a whole nother exciting thing.
When I was talking photos. That's what I was talking.
Yeah.
And that's now I did up pot my double smile, but it was in the solo cup in that thing. I had a rip already in the solo cup, but it wasn't really up potting. I was just able, because it was the 2 solo cup method. So once I set it down in, I just took the second one out of the soil. So it just kind of, and it was a little rough, but the thing was so small. It wasn't like nowhere root near anything. It was just like, okay, it looks like you're about ready for a watering. I'm going to put you in the big soil and kind of let you go for a few days and see what happens. And it was doing fine until then, until like that was a weekend. And then it was doing good till like 14 days. And then something happened around 14 days. It just kind of stalled.
Yeah.
It was weird. But that's normally, I don't like to up pot autoflowers. I like to go right into permanent and start there.
Well, hang tight on some of the photo stuff. I'm going to be picking your brain over the course of the next, couple months, because it's coming soon, my friend. It's coming soon, my
Nice.
friend. But before we get onto that, Rev, I want to hear what's going on in your garden, buddy. What's the most exciting? What's jazzing you up this week in your garden?
Let's see. I'm getting closer and closer to chop, sort of. Um, I had, yeah, I'm just getting closer. Like, I'm surprised the solo cups. I'm coming up on day 90 again. So I'm getting there. They're going long again. The mango, I don't know what's going on there, but I'll talk about that later. But yeah, getting closer to chop. I'm already thinking about it. Thinking about what's next. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, lots of good stuff. You're 90 days on a solo
Yeah,
cup.
three of them. 90 days on that
I,
bonsai too. That's
yeah. At this point, are you just keeping them as long as you possibly can to see how they'll develop, or you
yeah. I'm
still?
I'm stuck between a couple things, right? So like, the tent that the juicy's in is also my dry tent. So I'm just kind of trying my best to juggle and pick the most appropriate time with the least amount of worries to do it. The least amount of, like, it's not going to be perfect, but I'll try and get it as close as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, and I let the Trop Whiz that I had, the Tang and the Trop Whiz V2, I gave them about almost 12 days apart to see what sort of difference.
Did we just lose him?
It sounds like it.
Yep, he dropped right
Oh,
out.
bummer. He was about to talk about how he personally thinks that everything I say is right, but
I had a feeling
yeah,
he was leaning that
yeah,
direction, especially when he went with Wizard.
yeah. I think he calls me wizard. It's weird, but
Yeah. And we're
oh,
back.
bummer.
And we're back. And fucker, stop talking about me. I knew I was sitting there listening to you.
No,
Yeah.
no. But
No.
yeah, you let your Trop Whiz go and that was your second time growing it, and of course you've spoke highly about it. But I wanted to, before we get on to whatever, I wanted to throw it back to you. About what exciting do you have? I know you just had that post. If you want to dive into some fun shit there.
Oh yeah, I think it was earlier this week.
Yes.
I did a little bit of traveling myself towards the end of the week, but earlier this week, I had I go into these sort of naming conventions with my plants. It's always been something along the way. Just easier for me to call them a shorter name, and I think once I was messing around with some testers and trying to keep it kind of on the project side of things, and just putting layers of complexity into it of names. It's just a little bit of fun I have naming the things. I started to kind of mess around with what this one was going to be inspired by, because I think everyone sees it. I get kind of inspired by something as a project, and for this one, I just started kind of thinking through. Well, we've got Pinot Noir, right,
Yeah.
and Double Grape both took me to wine, right. So that was the kind of impetus of where I'm going and inspiration for this next round. So of course I started digging into some of the names, and I took them back to, I got a huge wine education from my mentor quite a while ago now. And we really dug into an all-American wine list. And so I went back to, me, an homage, kind of like with the Trop Whiz V2, right? That was an homage back to Daz, which was an homage back to some of his early work that he had done. And so with this one, I just dug in and I was like, I'm going to go back and find his favorite Pinot. So I went and dug out my old menus, because we used to write the prep list on the back of these menus every day. And then within this old binder that I have stacked full of these like crusty old coffee stained,
That's so cool.
food and grease stained, fingerprinted. He was a sketcher too on these things. So he would just sit and sketch and
So
write
rad.
out this list. Yeah, it was really a cool thing that we would do every morning. We'd just sit and drink coffee. And he would write this list and get everything ready for the day. And oftentimes he would carve out this period where we would sit down and go through wine, and he had this training manual that he had written. And it's brilliant. I mean, no one he would ever let see it unless he would worked there. But he'd run you through it, and it had one of his old menus. And so I went kind of flipping through nostalgically, and I found a couple of his old favorites, right? Because he was a staunch kind of he hated kind of the pretentiousness of fine dining at the time. He was real anti. He was kind of against it. He was just not really rebellious, in a sense, kind of punk in what he was doing. But he just said, "Hey, we're just making great food and serving great wine." So he had some favorite wines. So he had a Fiddlehead Cellars was his absolute favorite. And it was, I won't say absolute favorite because that man changed his mind constantly, but one that he always trained and called one of his rarities was a Fiddlehead Cellars. And so, of course, one of the things I learned to cook with him was Fiddlehead Ferns. I don't know if anyone's ever had a Fiddlehead Fern, but they are freaking delicious. Anyone raise your hand?
Has anyone had a Fiddlehead Fern? What?
Oh, you got to look these up. So go
What
on the
kind of
Google.
rare fish is that?
It's not a fish. It's a fern. It's an actual fern, right? It looks like this little spiral. It's like a green bean, but it's before the fern like really unfurls. So it looks like a fiddlehead, right? It's the top of a fiddlehead. So it's called a fiddlehead fern. Go on the Google and check it out. So I guess I shouldn't ask if anyone should raise their hands if they've had a fiddlehead fern.
Time out.
But
Time
it was,
out. You talking about the shit dinosaurs ate?
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, they're like little. They're like the size
No,
of
I'm just kidding. That
maybe a
sounds.
silver
I love
dollar.
ferns. I can't keep them alive, but that sounds awesome. But no, I wouldn't say that the majority of people that you associate with on Yag have eaten fucking fern.
Point taken. Maybe if you see them, go for it. Anyways, back to it. So yes, great point. So I call this one Fern, right? That's her short name. So instead
So
of just
awesome.
calling it a Pinot Noir, she's got personality, and I think that's the key to all of them, right? Is I think all my plants, as we get into these crosses and all that sort of stuff, they've got personality. And the other one was with this one. I thought it was actually kind of inspired a little bit by this whole autoflower community. There was a winery called Bonnie Doon, and they had this
Yeah.
wine called the Le Cigar Volant, right? And if you're familiar with Bonnie Doon, there was an old cat named Randall Graham. And in the 80s, he kind of banded together a group of these winemakers, and they were called the Rhone Rangers. And my mentor absolutely he just thought these cats were the coolest ones around, because of course we were all strictly American in wines, and the 80s and 90s brought about this huge revolution of things. So there was like this group, and they were totally non-for-profit, right? They still stand non-for-profit. And they wanted to kind of kick homage back to some of the Rhone varieties in France, right? The varietals, right? So you start talking about our cultivars, our blends, and all that sort of stuff, right? I started seeing these like parallels, thinking through this and going back and doing a little bit of digging again around these cats. And they like found these off varietals that were really not being grown that much. And you started to hear some of these names like Grenache, Viognier, and then the big, huge one that they really played into was Syrah. So if you're going to stores now and seeing Syrah, it was these kind of banded together, I guess the hippies, burnouts, yuppies, whatever you want to call them, really cool cats that had something really unique and interesting that stood out. They were kind of they were a little punk rock. They stood out against the winemaking industry and said, hey, we're going to just do this and do it right. And I know you guys don't like it, but we're going to blend it all together and make it into something that was better than what we could see elsewhere in the world. And here they are today. Like, I think Randall just I think he sold it off not too long ago. But these cats draw so many lines to kind of what we're doing in the autoflowers, right? Think about what they were doing in the 90s, and you start to draw these parallels to what the autoflower in the last 10, 15 years, and how people are really becoming more reverent to these older varietals, back to this double grape, back to these, the girls on the grow along, that we're all in it together. And back to our conversation around the double grape and some of the issues that we have going. These are all things that are the tools of all these great winemakers. And I think that was the key to what he was, and what really got him excited. When I say he, my mentor, is that he realized that it's really these winemakers and their personalities and their fingerprints and what they do with it. And in fact, his joke was always like, it's really just grape juice, right? It's just fermented grape juice, but it is the absolute personality and everything that the person that is crafting into it and does all of their time and effort and everything that they can learn to create this one thing that goes into this bottle that creates these moments, right? That are medicinal in some point, whether it's for, your mental health or your physical health or whatever. A bottle of wine can do all of that, right? But same parallels we have with our autoflowers. So really excited to have these two ladies in the tent. So Bonnie Doon, you'll be hearing quite a bit about, and that's that homage to the Le Cigars Boulogne. And then Fern from Fiddleheads, right? And now someone's going to go out there and have some Fiddlehead ferns and look it up because there's some really cool.
Nobody that I know.
Look it up.
Not a single person
Fucking
that I
chance.
know has eaten
If
a
you
fern.
like green beans, they're freaking
I bet,
delicious,
dude. I'm
right?
super
Treat 'em the
excited.
same
I'm
way.
debating on whether or not to put pepperoni on the fucking pizza tonight. That's about as good as you're gonna get. I
shouldn't
will
be a
give something
debate.
to you.
You never know. You never know. So
I'm
lots of
very
excitement around
excited. That was wonderful, and I love it. And also, boy, can I tell you some stories about Bonnie Doon?
Tell me.
No, not for the air. Um, there's, it is this. I've met some wonderful people. Anywho, what a wonderful story. There was a little bit of something that we wanted Howling to do, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but I remember we gave
Yeah.
him a job, and it's important to me that he does his job, and we call him out for whatever reason.
Yeah. Yeah, we were also kind of like starting to talk through what we have going on for the spring and summer. And I think some folks have seen on the Discord, you've probably even started to see on the Instagram, this little kind of rumbling that's starting to happen. So, you can see the excitement building on Howling's face with this one. But we're jumping into the One Hazy Summer, right? The grow
Yeah.
together for the next one. So, Howling, tell us a little bit more about it. Don't give it all away there, dude. Because it's
I have a mango smile on my face right now, and so the haze has already taken a lot of memory from me. So don't expect me to be able to talk much about
Good.
it.
That's the
Good.
key.
Yeah, we had a lot of success going on right now with the mango smile grow along, and it's brought quite a few of us together growing the same plant. So we teased the idea that maybe we need to do something during the summer. We're all going to be wrapping up some grows, and what should we do next? What should fill our tents? Yeah, so we're noodling on that a little bit, thinking maybe there'll be a little haze flowing through the summer, bring some better, brighter sunlight, more colorful flowers to us,
Hell
to see
yeah.
the world in a better light for a little bit. So yeah, you'll hear more about it. I'll tease a little bit more on Instagram. I posted something the other day, just a little teaser, and I'll do it a little here and there. And I'm totally looking forward to it. But we'll talk more about that later.
Absolutely.
Well, I know you're working on the logo too, right? And stickers and all that.
Oh
Sort
yeah,
of
there'll
stuff.
be anything I do has to have a sticker. So
And I will say before we move on that we'll come up with the finale of the Mango Smile. We're working on it. We haven't forgotten. We got to pick a winner still somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still mango smiling with a giant cheese on my
I
face as well.
still am a part of it. My mango is still fucking growing. I'm on day 84 and cheese doesn't look like it.
Really?
I'm on day 21.
Yeah, we're still a part of it in true Yag fashion.
Well, just about the time that we're running out, because I don't, mine probably won't make past that one jar I've set aside.
Hey.
That maybe we'll make it through full
Okay.
cure. But if we do,
Now, I have to put this out there to the circle, and you guys, the greater audience can see how we handle things in the circle. Do you guys? I've specifically said that I don't want any fucking reviews because it hurts my feelings, and Howling does it daily. But I think the people would much prefer a kind of smoke report from the two of you. So if you want to vote on it, what do you think? I vote no. Shut the fuck up. Stop ruining my day. Johnny, what do you vote? Do you want to hear about it?
No.
Yeah, that's no. So you guys.
Yeah. Fair enough.
No, I'm
Fair
kidding.
enough. I'm sure you'll.
You guys,
well,
give us a preview at least. I mean, you guys can't stop raving about it, and I need to hear. Give us some notes to the general public what you like about it. We'll start with Howling because Stoney will fucking wax poetic, and I don't want to do that to fucking Howling.
yeah, don't make me come.
Yeah, I know. I always feel bad when I have to do it.
Guess what? It smells like weed. It gets me high. There's the report.
There you go.
It's actually a really interesting one. I don't grow too many narrow leaf leaning plants, and this shows all her narrow leaf lineage from the way she grew to the way she smokes, and it's great. I have found, and it's like if you smoke rosin, or if you smoke flower, or if you like even how you smoke the rosin, I have found so many different ways that she presents herself. It's actually kind of weird.
That's crazy.
If I smoke flower, it is, if anyone's had a steroid shot and just understands the power that you feel flowing through your veins, that's mango when you smoke flower. And it's now a couple people that have tried it now of the one I grew, and no anxiety or anything, but you just feel this surge flow through you. There's just something, and there's no head high at all. But if I smoke the rosin, it's a complete head high. It's like a true haze. Like you're just kind of dumb and happy and smiling, and so it's been great to try to see how she expresses herself. I've never had a plant do that before. So yeah, still experimenting. I'll continue to give my daily update on the progress I'm making.
Fuck you.
And I do have to say, she, out of any plant that I have pressed flower from, she is the lightest color. Most are light brown for me. This was like gold, and I was like, "What the hell? I don't know where this is coming from, but that's perfect."
All right, Stoney, make me feel even worse.
Yeah, good luck following that shit. That was
Yeah, I know.
beautiful.
For once.
Yeah, I don't know. That was a really
It was
good one, man.
amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's I've tried it throughout the day, over courses of several days, because I try not to do, I save it,
Mhm.
right? Because it tends to be where I need a pickup in the day, almost in a sense, kind of like an ADHD medicine,
Mhm.
right? It is a little bit of a stimulant that I need to get me focused into something. So I tend to use it if I need some creativity, or maybe late in the afternoon if I had that kind of slump in the afternoon and I just need to eat something and get some real energy going into me. I can have a little bit of that, and it will really start to make the day a little bit brighter. I mean, things that I've noticed from it. Almost right away, I feel a release in my shoulders, which for me is the kind of where I carry my anxiety. Right, I pull it tight, and it's where I get a release of that right away. I almost feel this weird energy like stream through my brainstem. Right, it just gets me. It almost wakes you right up. It, things brighten up in visual cues. It's not as much of the cerebral where I want to sit and go internal into my mind with it. It is definitely something that accentuates everything, right? So music sounds a little bit tighter and crisper. I heard something at the end of a song the other day that I was like, holy shit, I've been listening to that for 2 decades and I hadn't caught that tiny little riff switch, right? And then I laughed and went, oh, there's the mango smile again, right?
Right
It
on.
tends to open up the outlook on things a little bit brighter, right? And I think through not going cerebral, right, not going internal into your head, making you want to start moving, right, because it makes me want to boogie, right? I find myself tapping my foot, clicking my teeth, doing something with my hands or feet. I mean, we've heard several in our community talk about music and how much it draws us into music. I think it makes everything crisper, right? Pulls it apart. It almost gets to this spot where I not giggly in a sense, but definitely feel this great energy start to lift off. And then it's almost in this like if I'm not careful, I will wear a smile so much that I'll start to hurt, right? That right above your cheeks, right, and kind of behind your underneath your ears and by your jaw where you've just been smiling for so damn long. So I think it's a careful, like it's not something that I want to use session after session after session, but definitely something that, if I'm in a slump during the day, or if I just need to be or want to be creative, or even if I want to just like, get some cleaning done or get some stuff done in the garden. I've even done it at night too when I need to get a few more things done, right? I know I've got some great medication that I can come back down from it, but it is for sure great medicine. I think this will probably be one that I keep, like Tangy, as Tangy did a lot of this as well for me. I find some of the parallels. Mango definitely is in that kind of stream, but so unique in its own right. So seems like I'll probably have those two leaning. And now that I even have done digging back and seeing how much that mango is in, like I'm pretty sure that there's some of the mango in the Tropwiz V2 as well.
Isn't
So
it? Yeah, it's Mango Isle, right? Yeah,
yeah.
Mango
So
Smiles,
yeah, you're
Mango
right.
Isle. Okay.
That's right. Because I went digging on a couple things and then realized just how much of its lineage is within it. So now that I know that I've got a few more beans in that, and probably one of those that I'll invest in a little bit because I feel like this might be some medicine for me that
Hell
needs
yeah.
to stick around. So I guess there's my short review.
Great.
How's that?
Great. No, I'm not jealous at all. This is a fantastic way to spend the rest of my day. Yeah.
It'll get you thinking. It'll get you thinking. But I mean, it's now been kind of sitting in cure, and I've got other things going on in dry. We were having a disaster here in the Midwest with our humidity spike. So let's touch base a little bit on kind of drying and curing. And one of the other things that always jumps out at me, because everyone talks about how we dry and cure, that sort of 60-60, and we'll call it target, right? We all do our best and eventually may just have to say fuck it and not deal with it. But I kind of want to touch base a little bit more on how everyone utilizes all the stuff like that we don't trim, right? What are you doing with your stems? What are we utilizing our trim for? So, Howling, let's talk with you because I know you are one that utilizes so many different methods and techniques of dry cure and
Yes,
everything.
please, because I am about
Yeah.
to freaking harvest too. So any tips that you guys have that I can steal, I will gladly take credit for in about 2 months.
Yeah, so I think it really all starts with the way I grow. I do try, I try to get what I want in the end is I want a good set of flower that I can smoke, but I want actually quite a bit of larf and trim because I do try to use all of that in the end for different purposes. So when I grow a plant, I will try to get an even canopy, but I don't like some people will try to only have the canopy maybe 18 inches deep or something.
Mm-hmm.
And as you saw with mango, it was tall. It was taller. And I didn't care. At some point, I want that larf down there, especially if it's producing trikes all over and throwing heads. So I'm fine with that. And once it's done drying, the way I process it is, I would say maybe 2/3 of every stem go. It's smokable. It's not going to make me too mad about trimming uh, or grinding it up. And so I'll put that in a jar, and then the rest, if there's even a single head on it, I'll keep it, and I'll take all the larf, even some pretty well formed buds, but depending on how much you get, sometimes you'll just sacrifice that for other means, and I'll put it all in Ziploc bags and freeze it. And at some point, like what I'm doing tonight, as I'm pulling those bags out and everything, it stems, it even has like the least little bit on it because all of it's usable. There's all sorts of different compounds that are in the plant material, not just the things that are in the stuff that's in the trichomes. And so I'll go through just a bit. I have an Ardent FX. It's kind of like the Levo machines. It can decarb and infuse.
Okay.
And so I have that just on a constant cycle of decarbing. Because it's just really hands off. It's kind of like set it and forget it, but it doesn't
Really
take
nice.
a huge amount, so it takes a while. So I'm going through all my gallon bags to decarb it, and then I'll freeze everything. I'll freeze some solvent, some food grade solvent like Everclear or something, and I'll freeze that. And I think this round, and I try to use all this to make RSO for my wife. It's just a great way, and you get actually quite a lot of yield out of it. I actually have more frosty trim now than I ever had because of mango. And I'm really looking forward to see the yield on this. But usually I get quite a few syringes of RSO for very little effort. And I still have, I think, flour off that plant. I had almost 11 ounces of smokable flour and then had almost 6 ounces of all this trim that was super frosty. So it's gonna be nice putting that all together. I think the only part of the plant I don't use is the main stalk. I haven't found I don't know what to do with it other than put it to the compost bin or the worm bin. Like I have no idea what else I would do with it. I'm sure I could extract something out of it, but now I have a main stock graveyard.
There you go.
Every time I'm done with it, it goes into a pile and it's just sitting there.
I was gonna say, I
But
think
yeah,
that's pretty
I use a lot of the trim for
Rope,
making
I have to learn
RSO.
how to make some hemp rope.
Oh yeah,
You know, I
That'd be
think
pretty
I
cool.
think by the fact that you just take it and put it in a graveyard that you're a fascist, you bastard. No, I'm just kidding. Learn to make rope or else. No, I'm just kidding. I think really that's I would love to see some people make rope and do all the great usage, but I think the more common is I'm going to put this over here until something happens, I guess.
I'll come with some
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
It won't get thrown away.
Yeah.
At worst, I'll like chop it up and put it into something.
Yeah, or you might need a stick one day.
Yeah,
You never
who
know.
knows? I saw someone posted that their dog likes to chew on them.
Oh, that's pretty
so
cool.
I might try that
Yeah,
out.
I had
Oh, it was
I had
you.
my dog here chewing on it. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever
It's good
posted
for 'em,
that
why
was
not?
an asshole. Oh, no, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Fucking jerk.
Yeah, that's
No argument.
I wish my dog liked any of it, but like he has no interest. He comes out and judges me. He's like, "This is what you spend your time with? Pff, fuck you."
Really, bro?
Yeah, really. Take me to the park, bitch.
Yeah. You couldn't be throwing the
Yeah,
ball.
exactly.
Really?
Growing plants,
Yeah.
fucker.
I was doing a little bit of bonsai last night, and I had these tiny little tender leaves, and my golden retriever was down there, and I was tried to give her one, and she just gave me this look like, "Dude,
Yeah.
really? Like
Hey, that ain't me.
no,
Bitch, please.
Yeah.
like." And I'm like totally hopeful, like, oh, here's a nice little treat, because she does eat salad.
Mhm.
She eats a lot of like carrots, and we feed her all sorts of stuff. And my daughter's always throwing her the scraps of fruit and tops of strawberries. So I'm like, she eats all
Oh,
this shit all the
absolutely.
time. Here's a beautiful tender, like, cannabis leaf. Go, have fun with it. And she's just looking at me like, you've got to be kidding me.
No, thank you. Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
but
yeah, that's great. Howling. I love that too. The RSO, that's a big one.
Now you were talking about RSO. I mean, what's your plans?
Yeah, so right now, what I've been doing, so I haven't done RSO in a while because I haven't bought Everclear, had the knee pod, that whole story, right? Not like that there's anything wrong, that I have any issue with it or anything, but I just haven't done it. So what I've done the last in this building where I'm at now, I've just basically like frozen my trim and sifted it, made hash or used it for just the majority, I would say 90% of the stuff that I got in the trim bin, I would just put on bowls or in joints. What'd you get so excited, Johnny?
I forgot. My buddy did some decarbing in a damn it, what the hell is the name of that? Sous vide machine. So you
that's how
vacuum
Oh, he actually decarbed in it?
Yeah, he decarbed in it, because I was thinking about, because for edibles,
Mm-hmm.
Rev, because you can't, because of the smell, you can't decarb like in an oven or
Oh,
a
yeah,
Evo machine
yeah.
because of the smell. So inside of like
It's a good fucking idea.
yeah, and he did it, and it actually worked great.
Well, see,
yeah.
That's what him actually doing that is what sent me back to the
Yeah,
drawing board,
that's-
because I was using a Levo machine like Howling does. Similar, I have an actual Levo, but it's similar to what yours is, and it's just I found less than stellar results. You can do like maybe a quarter at a time, and it's fucking. It was just takes too long. I throw an ounce and a half on the sheet pan and decarb right in the oven. But I own my house.
Yeah.
I don't have any fear of any smell.
you don't.
But that sous vide
Yeah,
machine
that's
vacuum
a good
seal, that
idea.
might be something there.
Because I
So did
have
he-
the sous vide for making RSO, because it was just super simple. I get a beaker, I clip it on into a sous vide tray, and just let it go at it. It just maintains the temp. It was super. For me, it was a lot easier to embrace that process over using like a slow cooker or a rice cooker. This just actually, so I have it. I just need the food sealer, honey.
What is the ideal temperature for decarbing?
I think
shit, it's like
I don't know the
it's
temp.
160. Hold on, I'll tell you.
I go 240.
Isn't there I'm probably so wrong. It's been a while since I've
two-
done that.
I go 240 for 45 minutes in the oven.
So at those temperatures, right, you're not going to be able to achieve those in sous vide.
Oh yeah, because you can't get it hot enough.
Right.
I don't know what I think it must be.
It's
something doing
250
a
for
longer
like
period of-
25 to 30. So I think what's
Now there is the slow
225.
process. Like if you look at like if you've done it in a slow cooker, that is in a very similar process and method and technique to sous vide, right? The difference when you say sous vide is that it's under vacuum, right? So if he's putting it into a pouch and
yes,
then
because it's
pulling
under
that out,
vacuum, the boiling
Yeah.
temperature changes of water.
no, it's more about the vacuum like takes the air out, and so you have direct contact from the temperature, because sous vide is all about just maintaining a constant temperature for a long period of time. Because you can leave something in there, like you can leave your steaks. I saw you doing some steaks on the grill. you can do a steak in there for anywhere from 2-3 hours up to like 10-12 hours. It's different temperatures, right? And it'll achieve different like it'll break it down and really get extraction out of it. So by doing it in sous vide, it's kind of like there's another trick where you do them in mason jars, right?
In the slow
In
cooker.
right, very
Yeah.
similar process too. It's a similar
I
method and
will
technique.
I will say I have two questions. One or a statement and a question. Does sous vide taste better than slow cooking?
That's a good question. Um,
Or not
when you
better. I don't want to
define,
put it that way. Is like if you slow cook in sous vide, is it like noticeable? Because if it's around the same time, that's a discussion for another episode.
yeah, no.
Um,
The short is it's six of one, half dozen of another,
okay, cool.
right? The advantage is getting something at a consistent temperature. Now you can do it without the fancy pouches
hmm
and all that sort of stuff just as well.
Okay,
So there's methods and techniques just like the way we grow,
yeah,
right?
interesting.
Autopot is like the circle back to what we talked about at the top of the show. Like everyone does the autopot method where we have to flood those things in, right? They'll flood the water in around 15 days, but we all do it a little differently. What we put into it, how long, same kind of methodology.
Yeah,
So, but I guess to circle back into your buddy, what he's doing is getting direct contact, so he's getting a better extraction off of that plant material for it. And you're absolutely right. If you're pulling a vacuum on it, you've got no aroma to worry about.
yeah. And what I do
The
right
only
now,
thing I
so
would
I
say
get
with it,
when I do my trim. Yeah,
because that's a great question, because there's a lot of a lot of people that are out there that I don't really want to fire up my oven and throw a couple sheet pans in there. I can only imagine the aroma and what it might linger. I haven't done it yet, but you know, I definitely would think about doing it with sous vide or doing it in the crock pot method.
that's definitely
So,
yeah. What I do now is when I have all that, or if I put it in joints or something, I roll. But most of the flour I consume is vaped, so that obviously is already decarbonate. I can't talk right now, but I don't have to redo it, so I can make all my butter just with my ABV and everything like that. So that's how I do my edibles now. So it's not as good. You have to use way more.
A lot more.
Yeah, way more. But it's the roundabout way without getting in trouble.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think when I was, we talk a lot about using the flour and the trim from our flour, and we've had some really good conversations around that. Some of the trim that I do, let's talk about some of the trim we do as we're going along, like outside of the drying process as well. Are you guys doing anything with trim along the way when you're doing any sort of defoliation, or when we're done with these, are you doing a little wet trimming to pop it into the dry tent? And then if you've got those leaves and other plant material, are you doing anything with that?
Well, I make.
Well, I'll take.
Oh yeah,
I was gonna say I'll take the lead on this one because I brought it up pre-show about dry and cure because I have the 8x8 over at Dad's house and it's pretty much been on autopilot. However, we cut down the skunk number 10 first. Now, the way I do it, the way we harvest the plant, the way I trim everything, I pull some fan leaves off kind of progressively. I do a couple massive defoliations when they really need it. It's like, oh crap, I got a little behind. But for the most part, it's pulling leaves off here and there, especially as they're young veg. Once they get into full on veg, if I'm growing photos, then I start to give a couple heavier defoliations and let them go once they're a little bit more stable. But when they're younger, just leaves here and there. Once they're in flower, I don't really do too much trimming once they're in flower. I go through and thin it out at the end, but I like to leave fan leaves because they help keep humidity in the tent. It's such a big area for me, so leaving some bigger fan leaves on there to help control or keep some humidity around a little bit longer. It tends to be a pain. I've found that the idea is sound, but it doesn't quite work that well because I have a humidifier in there to add the humidity when I need to. So it just ends up being a bigger pain in the ass pulling off dried fan leaves when I could have done it pre-hang and cure. Now that being said, we also harvested that skunk 10 early compared to the other 4 that we're growing. Like 10, 12 days early, maybe even up to 3 weeks, I want to say. We'd been hanging, and no, it was 2 weeks, and he hung the other 4 up. And I said, well, you know what that's going to do is that's going to add humidity back to that number 10. So that's going to start your cure process all over again on that. Your dry and cure on that number 10, because the amount of humidity being added to this room from those 4 plants is going to spike up, and you're absolutely going to equalize some humidity in that plant. Do you guys disagree with that?
Disagree as in like I mean,
What I do, I just put everybody to fucking sleep.
no, I
I
understand
was protracting around, man. I was trying to.
So what had happened was
No,
there's a
time out.
plant hanging 2 weeks earlier than the other 4. So I had 4 more plants go into this 8x8. Do you feel like that added a whole bunch of humidity to that first plant hanging? And is it going to start kind of restart everything?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
thank you for distilling that.
Sorry.
That answer.
I was gonna say, like,
that was an easy
are you?
one.
Yes. Yeah. If you put 2 extremes in an environment, it's going to balance and equal out the best that it can.
Yeah, that's what I told him. So I said, you're going to start your cure basically all over. That first plant, just consider it chopped the same day as the other 4. Let's just wait.
Well, I wouldn't. I wouldn't go that far.
That's a little drastic.
It's not. But here's the thing: is we want to get some cure on it anyway. So we're just assuming,
right?
Well, if you're going to continue,
and give it some really good cure time.
It's not going to be like it's not going to be a 1-for-1. Like if you put this in, it's a restart. But you are, and if you continue to keep it in there, and as it drains, you're going to get some equalization as certain parts of things, come out. But I mean, I wouldn't say
the reason I brought that up is because oftentimes we don't get in there and start trimming immediately. Yeah. I've left plants hanging in there for 2 or 3 months and then gone back to it. And it's like, okay, now let me see. Cause it's just like, I don't want to deal with it, and I'll let it cure in there. And then I come back to it and enjoy it that way.
And that's rad.
But
perfect.
That's going to get messed up, because if I have to harvest something and I still got plants trimming, that's going to set those plants back now.
Yeah.
And that's why
anybody got any suggestions? Like, do you feel like maybe if they went into totes at that time when a new plant that might help out?
I mean, if you're back to where we started from, the 60-60, right, is the kind of the golden rules or what everyone knows. It's really tough, and you will drive yourself nuts if you chase 60-60, perfect, right? Yeah. It is just so hard. So you have to give yourself kind of an acceptable range, right? And so I think that applies to the amount of time that you have going into it, right? If you are able to achieve below that 60, right, with a dehumidifier, and you maybe have to rush a little bit by a couple days to get one plant out before getting it in another one, and can delay, like, you're just going to have to find that right schedule. I'm nervous about it too I don't want to say that. I think about it when, with my perpetual garden.
Oh, you have to plan it a little bit.
I know at some point I'm going to get bit. And I know my backup plan to what you were saying, Johnny, is to go into tubs. Like, if I can at least get to like a dry, if I can get a little bit of a snap on the branch, then I can get it into the bins. I'm still going to have to mitigate it in there. I'm still going to have to go in and burp it pretty regularly, but that's an extra effort I'll do. But I think that's worth the sacrifice of that than to try and reintroduce some moisture back into that flower that you have cured and dried. Like, it's in a great spot. And, we say 16 days is the ideal. We all target those, but if it's 12 days and they're dried up, because, some of the autoflowers that we grow aren't super dense buds. Yeah. They're going to dry and a little bit faster. That 60-60 for 16 days is an old rule of thumb and is based upon decades of photoperiod growing. We're figuring out, like the Roan Rangers guys, like, maybe we don't need 16 days in there, and we can get it into a totes and figure out that next step for drying.
At least you get an answer with a tote, more controlled, right? Like, right. And I have to deal with it too. I have to juggle, because my dry tent is always a grow tent. Like, I have 2 tents, and I grow in 2 tents. So when I'm juggling, I always have to make the call, like, well, shit, this plant's coming down because this cycle it works, or this cycle don't work. Because to be honest with you, it's all about cost of running the portable AC. I don't want to spend the extra $100 to be like, well, that plant needed an extra 2 weeks, so I'm going to go. Like, no, Megan would laugh me out of the bed, like, so it is. It's like, see you later. It's going to be suboptimal, but that's going to be I'll get them next time. I'll plan better. It's, that's always the end goal. Because at the end of the day, if it's suboptimal, it's still shit you grew. You're so biased towards yourself. You're never going to be like, yeah, I fucked this up so bad. You're going to be like, eh. You'll always be like, if it was taken to its full, it would have been better. So, it's almost like a built-in excuse.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one more question. Sugar leaves on or off during trim?
Dude, on.
Yeah, I don't go down to
You've seen pictures
perfect.
of my bud, dude. You make fun of it constantly. I don't trim for shit. Like I've got stuff where I'm like, okay, that leaf that pops off, and it's like unwrapping each bud.
Now there's a time and a place, right? So when you're sitting down with the cola, yes, I take the time to like really get it down because I know that there's some peak flavor right at the very, very tip top. So I'll take the time. But if I'm just going in there for the day and I need just to pop some into the grinder, I'm just busting leaves off of it. But again, I look at like my mango smile when I looked at it. I saw it in the sunshine yesterday. I had it in a jar for traveling, right? I'm sitting there in this golden sunshine.
Stoney, wait. Say this slowly. I should describe it.
Why'd you turn your light off, Howling?
But I'm looking at it, and back to what you were saying, Howling, the color on it, this like almost like slightly pale, so beautiful, like delicate green, but frosted all the way out. And I'm looking at the sugar leaves that are hanging out of this, and like they're just as coated as any other part of the plant. So why would I bust them off? And if I do, well, that is just adding more work to another sift, to another bin, to this or that. And just leave them in there because it's natural proportion for me.
Yep.
Right. The amount that's on those is equal and equivalent to what I would find on any of the other leaves that are not quote unquote sugar. And because my plants aren't massive, huge, thick, that they're adding a lot more plant material to the cough, which I know that's the case, right? If I don't pay much attention and I throw a bunch of the sugar leaves into it, I'll feel it in the cough.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But it's a little bit of a sacrifice in the moment where it's like, all right, I'll just flake it off. But yeah, I don't go down to like show buds very rarely at all, unless I have the time for it,
I would if I was forced to take a picture, then I would. But other than that, if I'm giving you some bud and you're like, hey man, this shit ain't trimmed, I'm gonna be like, well, get the fuck out of here. It was free.
Yeah.
Like, too bad.
Oh, you poor guy.
You poor son of a bitch. But no, I mean, I think too, with like, even with when you get towards the end and if you've only got larf and stuff like that, what's the point in being picky? Like, I'll just smoke it in the morning and be like, nah, that was cough from waking up.
No doubt.
Rev, tell us more about what you're doing. With
I'm like I said, I'm harvesting and like I don't do very much trimming. I'll get the leaves off right before the dry, like major ones, right before I hang it up if there's any that are in my way. But I do whole plant and I let it sit there and then I take off the leaves and I trim in a trim bin. And I don't trim very well. It's not very neat. It goes against my very nature. Even if I try, like I have the brush, the trim brush. What's that called? Is that the canna brush? That thing's great.
Brush, yeah.
But only if it was dried the perfect way. If it's not, it's ineffective. So, I have all the scissors and pruners and all the shit I need. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to do it to where I'm trying to get it in jars, start the cure because I want to smoke it. And also I don't want to be having a full-on trim party in my living room where it's reeking up the whole house and I get a knock from the fucking,
Mm-hmm. It's easy to just, and I store most everything in big, like Tupperware snap top lids, right? Once it gets down and kind of bucked down into the big full plants into bins, then I'll go and I just do a little bit of a judicious breakdown of them and snip them down into, maybe 2-3 inch long branches with the buds on them and all the colas. Then that goes into the Tupperware because it's just easier to burp from there for, a good week or two. But nothing really has lasted much through cure so far because I just rotate throughout the day. And, once we get to that kind of dry, I still think, we can call it what it is and we can, take it back to some of the old rules of wine that you just had to let things sit in the bottle for all this time. There are some beautiful, beautiful wines that when you open them and you pour them right into a glass and a few swirls, that just will dance fruit on your palate. It will be like an angel pissing on your tongue. And it is amazing when you get that first bit. I think it's the same way with cannabis. There is some flower like that mango smile, even tasting it right out of the dry tent had a certain like green to it that I got, like the pineapple that was a little bit more of the rind, like when you would eat the pineapple towards the top, right where the fronds start to come out, and you get a little bit more of that green flavor that comes through. Then now, as it's been sitting for a couple weeks, now I get like all that buttery pineapple, like stone fruity peachy stuff that comes through. So I think there's a lot of beauty to, before it even goes into cure. And so why waste the flavor? I guess that's my theory. But
No, I agree. I agree. I know for Johnny's birthday, I got him Angel's Piss, but
Dude, what is it with cannabis users and finding the most asinine ways to describe the terpenes?
especially in such a wonderful
oh, that's not a
poetic way.
terpene, man.
An
That's not a
angel
terpene. That's
piss.
that.
It's gonna
Yeah.
effects or whatever.
Oh,
man.
Angel
It's
Piss.
angel-
I got
Yeah.
Johnny.
As
I got
opposed
Johnny
to-
Angel's Piss.
Oh, yum.
Well, yeah, you can take that one. I will give that one back to my mentor. He said
That is awesome. I love
good
it.
wine, or even like he talked about it a lot with like champagne, right? It's it sparkles on your tongue. It's like an angel pissing on your tongue. So nod back to him on that one. But I think back to the cannabis, that mango smile flavor changes in the cure. So I guess maybe if I have to stand out on one of the range of saying, don't wait for all of your stuff to cure. At least try it in flavor. See what it does. It's so much fun.
That is such a
Right?
perfect chef's answer too. Like sample along the way, take flavor notes, and it's right, man. Like,
yeah, because you may find, and even, I know that there will be some affect or effects that are changed because of during the cure process, right? Because of the entourage that will happen. But I would gander to say, or at least maybe I would anecdotally say, that a majority of the what you're going to experience pretty similar affect and effect to it. I think a lot of it is going to be the flavor, and that is the terpenes and the entourage effect that comes. So if we only waited until a month after curing it, we don't know what we're leaving on the table. So yeah, I guess to your point, as a chef, like taste it along the way, because now that I know that I'm growing Mango Smile, I know when I might pop it into jars, or I know that I can start smoking it right away and not have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that answer because I don't like to wait. I impulse smoke, and so I have made it a rule that if I'm trimming the plant, I will smoke something of that night, only because I'm impatient. But you have given me a much better answer.
How do you consume it?
I just smoke it.
You like joint, bong?
Oh no, just a bowl. Like
okay.
That's usually how I mostly do it.
My only fear would be like if I pulled it too early or something, and I tried to roll a joint and it was just too wet or something.
That would be a problem.
Yeah. That's what happens with me. If it's a little early, because I only smoke joints for the most part.
That's
I barely ever do anything else. So like,
if you pull
it normally is early,
if you're pulling one of your buds and you pop it up on top of your light, right? Or you pop it somewhere and it's just a tester.
Yeah, you can get ahead of it.
Yeah, you can get ahead if you really wanted to. But
yeah,
usually if you're looking at, like when I unzip my tent, there are certain spots that where because of these buds are sitting on branches, that moisture is coming out of the bud and going into the branch, and that's where the dehydration's happening, right? So if there's going to be certain spots within the plant that are further out that have already dehydrated enough, they've already had the moisture pulled from them. So just spin your plant around, and you'll probably find ones that are drier than others. And I found so far, like maybe 7-8 days into the dry, there might be one that's kind of on the larfy side that's down there, and heck, I've grabbed it just to taste for flavor, even if it's just one little bong load to see what it tastes like. And I have noticed that if I go too early, I get this like really heavy vegetal, like think green peppers, like spinach and kale kind of notes that come through, and it's okay.
It's very bitter.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like acrid too. Like the smoke almost and it burns my nose too. So it's really, I can sense that there's still a bunch of that chlorophyll in there, because that's really, once we
Hmm.
talk about it, that's the one common
Yeah.
thread,
Mm-hmm.
right? We still get all that chlorophyll. So, but definitely
No, I
has an
think that's
impact in
great.
flavor.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to start trying, and then you can really get. I think if I don't cure very often because I also fall into that category of not wanting to wait and being like, no, I'm weed rich now, so I'm smoking a joint every 5 steps on this walk, motherfucker. Like, I'm like, oh, we're going grocery shopping before, after, during. But it is there's nothing I like more than when you do get some time on it and then you put it in a joint and you get that dry hit, and it is like, oh, okay, this is perfection. Like, this
Right.
Mm-hmm.
is it. So, and you don't know where that is. A lot of people be like, oh, it's 16 days. Like, I don't think that's true. It depends on the situation, because I've had some of the
Yep.
best smoke in the world after like 10 days. And I'm just like, holy shit,
Mm-hmm.
this is perfect.
Mm-hmm. I think it's the plant.
Yeah,
It's
it's
how
always the.
much, it's your watering cycle,
Hmm.
right? Did you, like on this one, on the Trop Whiz was the first time that I really let it dry out for about 2 or 3 days. And yeah, after about 7 or 8 days, it was pretty dry,
Oh, I'd
right? I was
imagine.
able to pull, some buds off. And that's the first time I'd ever done that before. I've watered all the way up until, maybe the day before or whatever. But all of these little variables have all these sorts of impacts into what we do in the dry. There's a lot of different, it's targets. And I think that's, if nothing else, is a great message to kind of take away from all of this dry. Is like, everyone reads 60, 60, and 16. And it just has to be seen as a target. It's a variable that we can try and control. Because, hey, I mean, for me to get to a humidity of 60 degrees, no problem. I've got a big, huge dehumidifier that runs in my tent, right? And it dehumidified the full 5x9. So I've got it in the small dry tent, no problem. To get a temperature in there, it's not worth it for me to run an air conditioner, because it sits in my basement and it sits at about 65, 67 degrees.
Hmm.
Well, I don't, it's not worth it for me, for the energy to spend to get it down those 4 or 5 degrees to
Oh,
get it to
absolutely.
that point of perfection. Yeah, if anyone's here, and I've got the cream Kong ice cream coming around. So
Hell
yeah, I know it's
yeah.
that summertime. See, we talking about summertime, guys, and
Perfect.
the ice cream truck comes a rolling around. Yeah. So take me back to where I was, because that damn thing distracted me
No,
too. I saw.
yeah, I forgot what you were saying too, so fuck it.
See.
No, he was talking about the humidity
Oh yeah,
kind
no,
Oh
of
yes,
being
so
able
not
to
those
being
five
worth
control
it.
it.
degrees.
Like,
Thank
yeah,
you, thanks,
Yeah.
Johnny. Thank you for
yep.
circling me, buddy. So those 5 degrees aren't worth it for me, right? I'll take that 65 degrees and whatever effect it's going to have upon it, because I know I've got my dry going, and I know I've got my temperature, and I know that it's nice and light in there, and there's good airflow that's going on in there,
Hmm.
right? Because if I try and close that up and seal it up with air conditioning, well, now I have a whole nother variable that I'm adding into it. So think of things as a target. Like, read the research. Everything says 60, 60, and 16. You're going to hear that over and over and over. It's a target. Do your best to get to it.
Well, and especially you, Stoney, and you, Howling, and a lesser extent to you, Johnny, because your dad has it. But you guys are also currently and generally grow while you dry. You've got other grows going on, so you also have to constantly weigh okay, how much am I going to affect the environment surrounding this? It also affects my other tents, and then at the end of the day, my electricity bill is insane because I fought a battle on something that I shouldn't have fought a battle on. Whereas, like,
Yeah.
this will be the second time that I am growing because the mango, while I dry, right? And so I always have to think too, like, everything I do to this tent, because they're hooked up to the same air ducting, right? It affects the other tent slightly. So it's like, how much battle do I fight? Like, it's so I bet it's especially hard for all of you when you're worrying about that.
Well, that's, it's a really good perspective. We've been talking about, and you're right, man. Great call out that we all grow while we dry, kind of progressively, right? Or like, we're doing it at the same time. When I first started, I grew and then I dried in that room until it was at those 16 days, and I left it in there. And I did have to figure out my plants and starting, and I had a big, huge kind of gap. So there can be a whole nother shift in perspective and how you dry. Just remember that if for everyone that's kind of listening now, is that all of us here, we do kind of at the same time growing, harvesting, drying, and trying to balance all of that to happen. But if you're doing a big grow and you take your whole room down and reset your whole room, there's a lot to that too. A lot to that too.
In
A methodology.
in a perfect world, what would work in my grow, in my situation, is everything would come down at the same time, both my tents. They would go into my dry tent, and the other tent would shut down in the meantime, because that's where I save my money while I'm running the other stuff. I go, well, see, Megan, I turned this and this off, and it doesn't even save me money. It just looks better, It's one less cord to trip over temporarily. So, it looks, and so that's generally what a perfect world is, but I just can't, twice in a row I haven't been able to manage it. So you have to take into consideration that too. But in a perfect world, I wouldn't do perpetual personally, because it doesn't work for me. But so yeah, you have to remember our bias on this panel.
Yeah, it's the challenge of figuring it out too. I mean, I'm one of those folks that likes to just get myself into something and figure it out along the way, and I tend to end up doing a lot more than I'd anticipated. So
and you're more talented than most, thank God, because you're
someday. But it's hell, who knows? I'm instead of thinking of totes next time and the amount that I can spend on totes, there's already my mind going, well, why not just get another little dry tent? Right?
Yeah.
Another something small. So who knows? Or I could just upcycle the old walls from the old Gorilla that I got, the first walls that I got. I've always got that idea in there too. So get crafty, get DIY. I mean, there's so many different situations. Keep those targets 60 and
try
2
and get
weeks,
close.
60
Yeah.
days. Try and get close to them. And if you can't, don't beat yourself over the head. Right?
Yeah. If you
you're still gonna have great smoke.
Yeah.
You've made it that far, right? I think that's the key to it.
I think I will argue that if you are putting active thought into it, the chances are you're going to have a pretty good return at the end of it. Because really
100%.
the only time I fucked a grow or a completely or like a dry is when I just didn't know better as a teenager, or I knew I was like, I don't care, because I was probably drunk or something. Right. So like you just if you give it it's one of those things where if you put a little bit of time into it, or you have a little bit of passion into it, or a little bit of pride, you're going to be already fine, because you care enough to go. If you're paying attention to temperature, you basically already know. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't let those thoughts turn to anxiety.
Exactly.
Right. Don't worry about them. Be conscious of them. Be thoughtful of them. But don't let it worry you. Right. And try and get those things in line and walk away from it for the day and come back and check on it. And if you can get it dialed in a little bit more, great. And if not, move on with the day.
Even if
learn your lesson from
it. If it dries a little faster, that's even better personally, because I'm like, oh, you jealous? Like, I'm jealous of you. Like, and don't let something that you use to kill anxiety or stress and like get rid of stress cause you stress or anxiety. It's
That's exactly what I had to do.
Yeah.
Like the it was like we were racking our brains trying to fight the temperature and figure it out. And it's like, we're in the basement, man. It's going to be what it's going to be. For the most part, we're hovering around 60. So I let my focus be on the humidity, and then just the temperature is going to be what it's going to be. And you just look at, if it spikes in temperature, we're in some trouble. But if it drops, yeah, we can probably be all right.
Exactly.
Just watch it for swings.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to be okay. You're going to get what you're going to get, and just make sure you're checking on it every so often, and you'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember, there's not a grading body or fucking committee that gives a shit. So if you're close, man, you're
right.
Like, the only person you got to worry about is yourself.
Yeah. I mean, and here's the other thing I think it boils down to for me is like, if you've made it to dry, you're going to be fine. If you've made it this far and you've done all of those careful steps and all that thoughtfulness for all of these days and weeks and months, and you've got it into the dry, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Right. You've made it this far. So.
And there's so many cool things to make with the trim. I know we touched on RSO, we touched on edibles and sous vide edibles, which is just so fancy. I'm surprised I'm a part of the panel discussing such fancy magic. But does anyone have any, like, Howling, I think, is a good one because you started pressing and you do RSO for your wife. Does she have a favorite edible go to, or is there something that you found that you're like, if I do this with, it's pretty universal that you do every time, or do you a simple butter probably?
The whole edible thing is really her.
Yeah.
I don't consume them, so the only thing I've ever made is like tinctures and RSO. She does gummies and brownies, and um, yeah, I think she follows real simple methods for it, real easy ones, and if it doesn't do the job, eat more.
Yeah.
It's
Perfect.
luckily her tolerance is so high that her window, like, she's not going to get overstoned. It's going to take a lot, so she can just keep on consuming it. Where me, I would just eat a crumb of the brownie and go to the hospital.
Hey man, as long as there's it's not like having to take more is cool. It's just more fucking expensive.
And I
Mm-hmm.
and I love all the customizations and all the different recipes and stuff because it's another ingredient you're cooking with. And I love cooking and trying new things, so it's like it really scratches that itch. But since I know for a fact I will not consume it, my enthusiasm just kind of goes away.
Yeah, I could see that. I
Understandable.
know Johnny part the answer, but you usually just make something and boof it, right? Just like an oil.
Straight up the
Just
vagina.
straight up the no.
We've been friends for too long. You just know me so well.
I know you do edibles. I believe in the chat we have something of, oh shit, here comes the brownie.
Brownie's kicking in. Yep. Brownie's kicking in.
So it's
Yeah, that's if I'm doing edibles normally, that's where, because it's just, I don't know, man. I've got my recipe down now, and every time somebody hands me something like a gummy, they're like, "Oh yeah, this is the thing." I just sit there and like, "Oh cool, yeah, I'll give it a try." Pop it in, and it's just like tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Nothing happens, and nothing happens.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's like, all right, well, yeah. I have a strong tolerance for edibles. It seems like so. The brownies seem to have a faster delivery method. They kick in pretty nicely, and I've got my dosage down the way I make it pretty
That's
well.
hell
So
yeah.
I know how to judge how medicated I want to be on how much I'm going to eat.
You got to share that recipe with me because I am very much I wonder with me if it's years and years of alcohol abuse, but with edibles I have to take an ungodly amount to feel anything. And so like I'm talking like 1,000 milligrams before I'm like, oh, okay, it kind of kicks in, feel something.
That's about right.
Yeah. And so I need, because I'll make it and I'll have to take so much, like with my coffee this morning, I was taking a big scoop because I was going to play off volleyball all day. And it was too much oil to coffee. And I don't drink coffee normally, really, except for this, but it was too much oil to coffee that it was like, oh, gross as shit. Like I couldn't do it. Like I was just like, oh no.
It was like coffee and weed vinaigrette.
Yeah, it was just like, yeah, it was exactly that. And it was like, oh my God, that to get the correct dose this way is just, it's not tenable. So I need something slightly better, but
Right on. Yeah.
and Stoney, I'm sure you fucking make some kind of foam for some kind of like other. I couldn't even think of fancy food.
Froth.
Yeah, froth. A froth for your broth.
He's frothing. He froths his THC infused milk.
Yeah, his infused milk for his. What was that kind of put? Gastronomet, or what is that? Gastro cooking or whatever.
Yeah, there's a molecular gastronomy.
Yes, that's
There's a
it.
whole
That was a
there's a
scene.
whole thing. I put it into kind of into my quiver for a while and did some research around it at some of the restaurants that I was working at and played around with it. And then it has a time and its place.
Yeah, it was cool.
Things like this. Yeah, I mean, there are certain ways, and I think sometimes you're starting to see more events. Like if you're on Instagram, you start to see more of these catering companies and event companies that are doing cannabis themed.
Yeah.
And they're kind of leaning back into this, the methods and techniques, and they're trying to figure out ways to do it. So it seems to me like fat is the way to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it bonds directly to it. So then once you have that methodology of, hey, as long as I can put fat into this, right, it just leaves so much more into it. So to your frothing, right, there are certain things that you can add into it that help. And honestly, if you do it, you laugh at me all the time, but Johnny, I know you add kuyaha, right, into yours.
Mm-hmm.
you are frothing, my friend, right? So you can poke fun. You are fancier than me, motherfucker. Okay, because I don't froth that often, and the last I saw, you're fucking frothing all the time. So it's a similar methodology,
You
right? You
frothing
can do the same thing.
motherfucker, you.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Here's another little trick. If you want to play around, I did this the other
Oh.
day. If you want to play around with a cocktail, take like some mango juice, a little bit of lime juice. Like if you can get the mango nectar, right? The Umex, the mango nectar, a little bit of it comes in a can, Johnny. Give me a fucking break, right? You put that in there with some lime juice and a little bit, and you take that, and it should be kind of thin enough down. Add a little Kuyaha into it. You shake it up into a foam, and you pour that over to it like a soda water. It makes almost like this cocktail. It's like what you would normally use an egg white in, like old school cocktail making where you throw an egg white in. It almost does the same thing to it. It doesn't have the fat to it. So you guys got me thinking about how we're going to make foams for lattes and all that sort of shit.
Oh,
so yeah,
that's
so you didn't
you're
think I was going to
wasting
circle
I am
back there,
going-
did you?
I am going to the Wegmans and I am going to look for mango nectar. If I don't find
telling
it,
you,
I am going to
you'll find it. Go to there's usually a section. It's always in the Latin. It's like a blue can and it'll say mango nectar. If you can find it in the bottle, you're best off, but usually you can find it in the can, and it makes for, because it's real kind of, it's like syrupy and thick and it almost has a little bit of texture to it. So that's why you need a little bit of that lime juice to cut with acidity, but you also need some of the water from the lime juice. Oh my God, I'm getting totally excited about this. Then you only need a few grains of the Kuyaha in, right? Like into your shaker, like, I don't know, maybe like a quarter of an eighth of a teaspoon. Like I use like just a little pinch, or like a knife will do it. Like dip a knife tip into it and sprinkle it in. Give it a shaker in your cocktail shaker, and then pour that over a soda water. I'm telling you, you will have a cool cocktail with it. And to that extent, you totally, like, you guys got me thinking about, well, what could we do from, like, you know, with mango? How do we get to a different fat? Because as long as it's a fat, it can go into an oil. It can go into a neutral oil, like vegetable oil, right? People use olive oil sometimes, I know, but
use
you could use
coconut
corn
oil.
oil.
coconut,
Oil
yeah.
could be a really cool, now, because that's a super saturated fat, so that's why that just
Mhm.
tastes so damn delicious, and also why it binds
Not when
so
it's
well. So
90% of your coffee, it doesn't.
yes, when you're making a vinaigrette
Yeah.
stabilization, but that's actually a really good thing to point out. Like if you see a lot of these recipes that are using coconut oil, there is a reason for that. It's a super saturated fat, right? So it's got all these extra like chains and that sort of stuff that things can bond to, right? That's our cannabis. Like that's what the THC is bonding to. So that is a great way why having even a little bit of coconut. Now, some people don't use coconut because of the flavor that it imparts. It does add a coconut to it. But in this instance, to have a little bit of like mango smile infused coconut oil, guys, we are coming up with a pretty cool cocktail here. Mango smile infused coconut oil into mango and lime juice, shaken with a little Kuyaha, poured over a soda water, and
I'm
stirred.
good. Just figure out where to add the apple, and we
I
have a
know.
fucking
Get the
cocktail.
fuck out of
Well,
here with your
don't
apple
ruin it with
teenies.
a fucking apple. Yeah, what the fuck? That's
With an apple teeny, but we'll figure out an apple cocktail tea. Maybe that's one that we can get.
no, we
That's okay.
won't. The apples can get the apples. We can show the respect to the apples, like I always say, by using them as one of the first devices we used to smoke weed as a teenager. They have
Yeah.
their place, and that is it.
And
There
after that, no.
is a guy on Instagram. He blows apple pieces, and they are beautiful.
I don't need to know what that
I
dude does with
realized-
his free time, dude. More power to him, but I don't.
I realize now, having said that, and
That
having
you were
it come out of my
speaking
mouth in that manner, that I could have chosen some words a little bit more
gracefully.
gracefully.
You just realized that this
Probably.
was recorded.
There is
Yeah.
a blown glass artist
There
who
you
There
go.
we
makes
go.
apple pieces, and they
That's
are
crazy. That's pretty cool.
absolutely stunning. Yeah, they are
Dude.
beautiful. I think it's pouch glass or something like that. I'm not sure if that's the page
This-
or if he's the blower or whatever it is. If that's what they're called, blowers.
That is
Glass
so
blower,
cool.
right?
I also know a dude who blows apples off the I-5. But yeah, no, that's awesome, man. So
that's I-5 California, right?
California, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure I got my address correct. I'm going to be headed there.
Yeah, you can find me off the 5. It goes about 700 miles from the coast.
No,
Somewhere in
I'm
the
looking for
vicinity.
the guy. I'm looking for the guy blowing apples.
Well, he's not holding a sign for $20. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Damn it.
Oh my goodness, I
We've
love it.
digressed. We've digressed all the way down.
As it should be. Howling, look at
Yeah.
him judging us over there. Like he
his brownie
pretends like
kicked in.
yeah.
I'm still stuck on making a cocktail with pear nectar. So
Oh,
There you
gross.
go, dude. I'm telling you.
They
Pear
have
do-si-dos.
those,
I'm
paired
just saying.
drinks that you can get. And I always make sure that I buy a bunch of them and just throw them away because they're garbage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think any kid should get should get stuck with those.
I'm pretty sure that was like my only nutrition as a kid is drinking the pear juice at the bottom of the can of sliced pears that you got.
Yeah. We call that syrup, dude.
Syrup.
Yeah, juice. Yeah.
I would struggle to call that juice, but we can
My
go
only
there,
nutrition was the sugar at the bottom of the jar.
right? Because dessert was the cherry, right? And
Yeah.
the mixed fruit cup, right?
mixed
that
fruit
was like
cup.
the dessert of the fruit cup.
The only way I can respect you is if you tell me you washed it down with Kool-Aid.
I
Are
hate
you asking
Kool-Aid.
me?
You hate Kool-Aid?
we're-
Yeah, too sweet.
What? Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
That's
very
only in
sweet.
the way that you make it, man. You gotta.
But
kick a
yeah,
little
you
bit of
can.
lime juice
Kool-Aid's
into it.
pretty damn good, dude. Lime juice killer.
Don't, oh my God.
Fucking
don't,
Stoney just
don't
changed my
you
life.
Dare church up my Kool-Aid, okay? You keep Kool-Aid trailer park.
Hey, man, that's
I
Kool-Aid
love that.
is
I
an
love
energy
don't
drink.
church up my Kool-Aid. That's amazing. That implies that the church version is fancier. I love it.
I think that's stole that from Joe Dirt. Don't church it up,
That's
Dirt.
perfect. No, don't church it up, dude. No, that's perfect. No, Kool-Aid's phenomenal. As a kid, did you think it was too sweet? Because that's weird.
I didn't like it as a kid either.
That's strange, dude.
Yeah.
Too sweet as a kid, you said?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, unless it was
That's
like,
good.
I
You
mean,
bought that mix. We got the,
severely
like-
watered down, sure, but normal, like how people typically make
I know.
Kool-Aid.
Next, you're gonna tell us you don't like Oreos or Doritos.
Oh, I love both of those, especially together.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You're still American.
That was my lunch. Oreos and Doritos all growing
you
up,
go.
and the pear juice to
dinner
wash
was
it
your
down.
pear syrup.
Yep.
No, you know what's the worst was in,
Outstanding.
I think in high school for one of the like freshman year or something, they had this snack bar and I would go and buy Reese's and drink a Pepsi almost every fucking day for like
Reese's and a
months,
Coke was my
dude.
thing.
Yeah. I think back on that and I'm like, how the fuck did I have energy to do anything? Like I would
Oh, you
do
had
that
energy
and
for
then
about
go
an hour,
surf.
dude.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking about before a
The rest was
basketball
just
game, I'm like,
adrenaline.
crush this Coke before I go play basketball. Like that's totally healthy.
Mm-hmm. This is
Oh.
working great.
Yeah, let's
Now you see where my cocktail with cannabis and infused coconut oil, and it would come way better than
Oh, yeah.
Kool-Aid. But
I definitely have played better.
yeah,
Or I thought I
You
played
can
better. I
have
don't give
that
a
one.
shit.
Just stay away from Kool-Aid, okay? Kool-Aid is simply this: the packet, the 1 cup of sugar, and 1 gallon of water.
packet
That
and a
is it.
half, my friend.
I
Packet and a
digress.
half. Packet and a half.
Oh,
Ooh,
That's
that
how we
sounds
roll.
fancy.
You're brave.
That's how we roll. That's how we roll. But we've actually we've covered quite a bit. I mean, we talked, even though we rambled into fucking Kool-Aid. How the hell did we get to fucking Kool-Aid? However, we
Johnny
did.
Apple. That's fucking why.
Yeah, you and blowing apples. So if they only had apple flavored Kool-Aid, isn't that apple juice? Yeah, we talked quite a bit about like dry and cure, and we talked about some of the utilization of what we'll do with some of the flour, and I think we've actually got some ideas. I'm gonna work on that cocktail a little bit
Hell
further,
yeah.
and if we can figure out an apple one, Johnny, I'll give you shit for it now, but I think that there's still one there, buddy. Cinnamon, sugar, get it down, some piloncillo syrup with it. I think it could be fun.
I will say that if for you to have to consume something, you have to cover it in sugar and other flavors, perhaps it is not meant to be eaten.
We'll get there one way or the other.
No.
One way or the other.
No, I agree. I'm sure if anybody
all
has
medicine.
any questions, feel free to ask anyone about what they do. We'll be more than happy to answer them.
Yeah, I'd
Howling's
love to
got
hear
all
what
kinds
everyone
of
else
fun
is doing too.
advice. Yeah, bother Stoney about recipe advice. It's like what I like to do. He's not busy enough, so
It translates. It's easier than you think. That's usually where the conversation goes. Is like
yeah.
you're probably already doing it, right? Just like the making froth. Johnny gives me shit about it, but when I point it out, everyone laughs because he's doing it every day, right? So just in different methodology. But yeah, I would love to see what you guys do on the Discord too. Show us what you would do with your edibles. I know everyone's got the gummies, and we'd love to even hear recipes and that sort of stuff about gummies. But yeah, pop in there and show us what you got. Show us what you're cooking with. Even if it's just coffee in the morning time, show us
Hell
that
yeah.
as well. So great stuff. Great stuff talking.
Yeah, all you coffee guys can have your fight to the death. Um, Stoney, do you have anything to plug? Thank you again for hosting. It was an absolute pleasure. Thanks for keeping us on
Yeah.
track.
No, lots of great stuff coming up. Just watching for outdoors. Sticking along with the grow alongs that I've got going on with Odin Sons and the girls on the grow, the automatic growing along. So getting excited for our next one, trying to figure out what I'll be popping, and hopefully I'll know the next time we're together on here what will be the final haze to go out for the summertime. It gives me something else to look for that sort of June and July. So
Oh yeah.
always looking forward, man. I think that's where I'm at with excitement. So there's so much exciting things for us to do together here and over on our Discord, and just all of us individually, and so much more to learn. So always get excited about that. So what else we got
Absolutely.
for the show for the day? We missing anything? Anyone else got any final thoughts?
What do you want to plug,
No.
Johnny? Brownies, apples, blowing dudes, IO5.
I would like to plug myself into my bed.
All right, I'm
Sounds like
That's
glad you
about
ended
it.
there. That
close
was a
on those.
risky
Yeah.
one. What about you, Howling?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how does that work? Do you get it between the mattresses?
No, it doesn't really work. I just go in.
Half the time he doesn't make it to the mattress. I've seen the state of that couch the morning after.
Ew.
No, of course.
Um,
Howling, anything?
Those are coffee stains. That's the creamer.
It's the creamer. I drink a lot of cream.
Mm-hmm. Spill a lot too.
no, I don't think I have anything to plug. I mean, loving my autopots so far, so I can't
Hell
say
yeah.
enough about that. And looking forward. I think right now I think running the blueberries from joint custody. I'll plug joint again. I really love the bushy nature of these things. I just love it. I know that some people have the bad taste of narrow leaf and tall, skinny plants, but I love me a short, bushy indica girl. So I love how these are growing so far.
Yeah, they are beautiful. I'm not going to argue with you. I'll allow your blasphemy as we end.
Baby got back.